Those of you who know me or have watched a few of the Thinking Out Loud video series will know that I like to think things through. Science projects, and especially projects that rely on an element of danger, are just plain fun. Sparks, flames, and especially high voltage have a strange attraction to my rather technical brain. Growing up in a large family meant that certain facts were presented in various forms depending on the maturity of the audience. And as the eldest, I would sometimes have to put up with an obviously outdated theory for the sake of my younger siblings. Let me give you an example. Christmas Eve arrived, and there we were carefully placing mince pies and carrots, oh, and that glass of milk, on the hearth for Father Christmas. Now, I'd already made an exploratory expedition up the same chimney several weeks earlier. The soot took a lot of explaining. I'd actually got about halfway up there, but it got very narrow, and looking up further still, I could see through the chimney pot, but doubted I would ever actually fit through that same pot. How then was Father Christmas going to come down that same way with a sack of gifts? It had also occurred to me that we were placing mince pies on the hearth beside a roaring fire. Yes, the fire was still lit, and I'd noticed there was no attempt to extinguish it. The cold night would rely on that same fire to bring some semblance of warmth until morning, when the fire would be restoked. This wasn't a good sign. There was another obvious question that needed answers too. Why would anyone need to come down a chimney when our back door didn't even have a lock? Something didn't add up. My dilemma was that while I almost certainly knew what was going on, I dare not voice that without scientific, factual proof. That was just a clever way of saying I needed to see it for myself. I had a very carefully listening ear that had listened to every word my parents had actually said, and the words I can neither confirm or deny had started to have real meaning. Sometimes we can be a bit thick, can't we? The signs are as obvious as the nose on your face, and yet we can't see it. These days, the question is far more likely to be, is God real? Is Jesus who he claimed to be? What did he actually say? Do the facts add up? Don't worry, I believe. I have a background in electronics and telecommunications and a broad education in science. Now, while some things are indeed hard to prove and even harder to explain, they really do exist. Don't get me started on what happens at the speed of light and why it makes a great constant, or we'll be here all day. Now, even when Jesus was on earth, people asked repeatedly if he was actually who they all knew he was. Somehow they just needed to see for themselves, I suppose. The people surrounded him and asked, "How long are you going to keep us in suspense? If you are the Messiah, tell us plainly." And Jesus replied, "I have already told you, and you don't believe me. The proof is in the work I do in my Father's name. But you don't believe me. And that's because you are not my sheep." Not my sheep. Whatever can that mean? That Christmas Eve I went to bed nice and early and put the sock on the bed as I always did. But this time I pinned it there with a safety pin. Now, if Father Christmas was real, he wouldn't mind. He'd think I was worried about it falling off the bed. Surely I'd be woken as he picked it up. It worked perfectly. As the sock was lifted, I sat up, wide awake, and said, "Hello," with a big cheeky grin on my face. And do you know what he said? He gave me strict instructions not to tell anyone, especially my brothers and sisters, and that next year I would have to help him fill socks since I couldn't stay asleep when I was supposed to. And I've been helping ever since. I really have. I knew what I knew, despite not having been told in plain language. The reason Jesus told the people asking if he was the real Messiah they were not his sheep was because if they had known Jesus was the Good Shepherd and what that actually meant, and he just told them a few minutes before exactly that, they wouldn't have needed to ask. I am the Good Shepherd. I know my own sheep, and they know me, just as my Father knows me, and I know the Father. So I sacrifice my life for the sheep. Dad didn't need to spell out who was filling the socks. If we listen carefully and pinned a sock to the bed, we'd know. And when you know, you know. If you still don't know if Jesus is the real deal or not, it might be time to listen very, very carefully, because one day he might just ask you to help him. And when he does, you need to know. Until tomorrow, goodbye.